Hello, Honkers fans. Welcome into Meet the Honkers, episode 13. I am Justin Velazquez, and I'm very happy to welcome Honkers hitting coach Cade Peters onto the program. What's going on, man?
Oh, not much. Just hanging out. How you doing?
I am doing well, having a good day. Let's jump right into it. So your family has been well versed in professional baseball in general. Your dad was drafted by the California Angels. Your dad, two of your uncles, and your grandfather played professional baseball. So growing up, how often were you around baseball in general?
Definitely very, very often. Growing up as a very young kid, all I can remember is really just being around my dad and his teams and all of his players. Just getting done with school and heading over to the field and playing catch with his players and taking BP with his players. And, if I wasn't practicing with my own teams, I was definitely practicing with his teams or, just hanging out with his teams. And then my grandpa and uncles, whenever I was hanging out with them or just around them, it was definitely baseball related. We were talking about baseball or watching baseball, and so that was definitely pretty cool there.
How cool was that for you, always being around baseball?
It was definitely really cool. It definitely was probably an experience not a lot of kids have, especially ones who love baseball, always having a field, at my disposal. If I ever wanted to go play, I, could just go to my dad's field and basically just do whatever I wanted, really. And then always having the cages and, just always being able, being a part of that team atmosphere, even as a really young kid, like most kids don't get really that experience, and so building that team experience and getting to be a part of that as a young kid was definitely really something that really stuck with me.
So growing up, were you always told stories from your dad or your uncles or your grandfather about just being around the game or playing the game?
Yeah. So I feel like my dad always has some funny stories about, when he was playing in the locker rooms and stuff like that. And he played in the Dominican Republic out in the winter leagues out there. So he always has some funny stories about out there and, just how different it is out there. And so just stuff like that.
When did you eventually decide or maybe just realize that baseball was what you wanted to be a part of?
Probably at a pretty young age, very young, probably around I don't know, like 8th grade. That's probably when I decided I want to play in college, this is something I want to try to make a career out of. Even if I don't play professionally, I want to coach, and probably that being around, my uncle was a coach at UCLA. He just retired last year. He was the head coach there. My dad's been a baseball coach his whole life. And my grandpa was a baseball and football coach. So, I've just been around coaches my whole life. So that kind of, whether I was playing or not playing, I wanted to be around baseball. So
You mentioned kind of that team atmosphere, always being around that growing up, right? How important is that to you, just having, a team atmosphere and team camaraderie?
I think it's really important. Especially if you want a team to be good, you got to have a good locker room. People talk about that all the time. It could be a really good team, all the talent in the world, but if you're not, you don't have good team chemistry, you're not really going to win. So I think that's really important, and just off the field as well, just being able to create those bonds and friendships with people. Like Coach Andrew, Coach Herbs, he played for my dad growing up at Delta, and I was in high school when he played for my dad. So I've known Herbs for a long time, and I was always going out there and hitting with him and playing catch with him and just hanging out with him and all his teammates. And those relationships you make, last a while, obviously.
You mentioned high school. You had a pretty strong playing career. You hit 388 your senior season in high school at Metro State University. Your OPS was right around 900. So describe to me your game. How would you describe your game?
My game, I'd say I was more of a hitter. I played first base and right field, so I'm a corner guy, but was definitely more in the lineup for my hitting more than my defense. Not that I was a bad defender, but I was a left-handed hitter, so that's something that's not highly touted, but like, that people want it. So I wouldn't say I was a huge home run hitter, but I was more of a doubles, drive the gap type of hitter. So that was more my style of hitting.
Yeah, you hit 288 at Metro State, so there's the high batting average, and now they got the universal DH, right? In the National League and the American League, pitchers don't hit anymore. So there you go, you got a role for you right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So, in college, you studied political science, but you had a minor in coaching. So was that always something that you eventually wanted to get into, coaching?
Yeah, it was something I always was planning on getting into. So originally out of high school, I went to UC Riverside, and they didn't really have a coaching or kinesiology major. So I, settled on political science. It was something that was interesting to me, so that's what I did. And then when I transferred, it was either minor in coaching or completely start over. So I just decided to minor in coaching. That's something I wanted to go into. I'm planning on getting my master's in coaching or something like that, coaching administration. So I had to start working towards that. So
Being around all these coaches or former players in your family, how did you kind of develop maybe a coaching style or philosophy? Take me behind that.
definitely just from watching my dad coach and going and watching his games, I kind of adapted my style from his style. So like a well balanced style. I'm not super into the whole new stuff. Just hit a million fly balls and try to hit as many home runs and win a game 4-2 and hit 3 home runs. I think more of the style of just hit as many balls hard as you can, line drives, and put together, manufacture some runs and some innings, and then if you hit the ball out of the yard, you hit the ball out of the yard. It's great. But definitely got a lot from my dad and my uncle as well. He's a similar style of approach, definitely.
You kind of poach kind of different styles from maybe your dad and your uncles, because as a broadcaster, that's kind of what broadcasters do, right? Like we'll take a phrase from this broadcaster that I like, and I'll use that in a broadcast, or this person does this in this situation, so I'll take some of that and kind of turn it into my own way. That's kind of what you've done, right?
Definitely, yeah. You take, being around the game for however long you are, you hear a lot of different information from a lot of different coaches and people. So you take the best stuff you hear from different people, and you kind of mold it all into your own kind of coaching philosophy, and whatever works best for you, or whatever you think works best for you, at least, just go with that.
So you go to San Joaquin Delta for your first year as a coach, and your dad, Reed, is the head coach there. So how comforting is that for you? You're entering your first year as a coach, and you have your dad right by your side.
Well, you could say it's comforting, but it's also a little stressful too. You don't want to, because the wins and losses go behind his name, so you don't want to do anything that's gonna make your dad look bad. So there's definitely high standards and high expectations, but it's definitely comforting in a way to where like if you're unsure about something, or you're unsure about how to coach a kid or what to tell a kid, it's my dad's had all the experience in the world, and I can just ask him. It's definitely, you're not you're intimidated or overwhelmed going and asking him something. It's very comfortable to just go up and ask him, hey, what do you think about this, and he'll give me a very honest opinion. So that's nice.
How important is your relationship with your dad to you?
But I mean, it's very important. I've always been around, had a good relationship with him, and just, he was never really like overbearing, and never was like forcing me like, hey, you got to play baseball. Like our whole family's done baseball. He was always just like, yeah, I mean, if you like it, I'll help you all I can, and do all I can for you, but I'm not going to like force you or pressure you to do it. So I think that was definitely made for a very good relationship with me and my dad. It never put any extra stress on me. So that was very important. And, just baseball helped, build the relationship too. So that's really nice.
What have you learned the most as a coach from the beginning of the season to now?
Oh, probably that, you can't really control much, you got to prepare the players as best you can. But when it comes to the game, you just got to let them play. It's not, as a player, you had some control, and, you can input your way into the game, I guess, but as a coach, you don't have that control. You just got to sit back and watch everything happen. So it's definitely a lot more stressful as a coach, I'd say, as a player. You wouldn't think that. I'd imagine. I definitely didn't think that going into it, but it's definitely a lot more stressful as a coach, as a player, because you don't have that control as you did as a player.
How do you deal with that? Because I would imagine, because you're just coming off playing. You played last year, right?
Yeah.
You're going from playing to now something where you don't control anything. Well, you don't control a lot that happens in the game. So how do you deal with that?
Well, definitely in practice, you just got to make sure you prepare your players as well as you can, to where, when it gets to the game situation, they've been there before in practice, or at least as close to game situation, in practice. And so they're prepared and they're not overwhelmed. So that way you have trust in them and faith in them that they will go out there and execute.
Is there something, maybe it's that right there, the control, but is there an aspect of coaching that's been much harder or even easier than you thought coming in?
I mean, yeah, that's definitely part that was a lot harder than the whole control, having no control. That's a lot harder. Um, a lot easier. I don't know. It's tough to say. I wouldn't say anything's a lot easier than I'd say, but harder, is I definitely enjoy forming those relationships with the players, and trying to do my best I can to help them, because as a player, you wanted to go as far as you can and do everything. Obviously your career comes to an end, so you want to do everything you can to help these players advance their career even farther than yours. So I definitely like that a lot. That's something I really enjoy about it.
How do you go about forming those relationships? Because you formed the relationships at Delta earlier this year, maybe even last year, right? And now you're going to go to Rochester and you've got to do that again, right? So how do you approach that?
I think you just get to know each player individually. See what type of coaching and style of just conversation really works with them and what they're comfortable with. A lot of you guys aren't comfortable getting yelled at, so you got to know which guys you can yell at and which guys you can't yell at, and how they like to be coached. So that definitely, plays a role. And then also, I don't know, like I said, just getting to know the guys and getting to know like how their family, and just building that relationship of trust with them. So that way, when you tell them something about hitting or fielding or throwing, they trust what you're telling them. They're not just saying, "Oh, this coach doesn't care about me. He's just telling me this." He actually cares about me and wants me to get better.
Delta is having a great season, right? Up to the super regional now. How would you describe this season, your first with Delta up to this point?
It's been definitely good. It's been a lot of fun. We've had our ups and downs. It's definitely been more ups and downs, I'd say. But it's good to have those downs, because if you're all ups the whole season, and the minute something goes bad, you could panic late. So you definitely like to get those bumps out of the way early. And I think we're hitting our stride now late here, so it'll be fun here stretch towards the end of playoffs.
The coaching staff at Delta has a father and son, you and your dad, and two brothers, Chris and Andrew Urbistando. So what's the chemistry like over there? I bet like the chemistry is free flowing, right?
Well, yeah, we definitely have a great coaching staff over here at Delta. We all get along pretty well. Like you mentioned, me and my dad obviously have a good relationship, and the Urbistando brothers, they have a great relationship. But overall, we just have a great coaching staff. The chemistry is definitely great. Our pitching coach CJ is a great coach, and Larry LP. It's just I think it just, those brothers and father-son relationship kind of just help foster it's more of a family than a coaching staff, I'd say.
You're going to be the hitting coach of the Honkers this summer. How did you become the Honkers hitting coach? Was it something that happened pretty quickly, or was it more of a drawn out process?
It was, I'd say I was in between the two. It wasn't very quickly, but it wasn't kind of drawn out. Andrew got the job, Urbestando, and then I was obviously coaching with him at Delta, and he was looking for coaches, and he just asked me if it was something I'd be interested in, and I said yeah. And after a while, it was just something we kind of committed to, and I'm excited for it. I've known a lot of people who worked in the Rochester organization, like Coach Walker and Coach Morton. I went to school with them at Riverside for a few years, and they were coaches in the Rochester for the Honkers a few years ago. So I knew about the Honkers, and I knew they were a very successful organization. So, the thought of coaching them, it was a great opportunity.
What are you looking forward to most about coaching in summer ball?
I like the summer ball atmosphere. It's a little less stressful atmosphere than spring season, but you still want to win, and you still have a lot of talented players on their roster. So you just getting to compete with those talented players, and have a fun time with them in the summer and win as many games as possible. So that's the goal.
Thanks for taking some time.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me on.
That is Cade Peters. He is going to be the Rochester Honkers hitting coach this summer. Opening day coming up on Memorial Day, May 30th at Mayo Field. The Honkers will host the Wilmer Stingers. Thank you, Honkers fans, for tuning in to another episode of Meet the Honkers. You can find every episode right here on the Rochester Honkers YouTube channel every Friday afternoon at noon Central, and I'll see you for the next one.